Gentlemen, winter is coming. Are you prepared? Today, I will be sharing with you my winter truck survival kit. What is this, the 15th annual we've done? This is the day that I take everything out from summertime that I run in summer and we go in with the winter equipment. I'm pretty heavy on retrieval gear because I run a 16.5 winch on the front and I pull a lot of guys out of snowbanks. We live in the mountains and winter's pretty serious business. So I've got everything laid out. We're going to go through all the items. I'll show you what I choose and why and how I stow them in the truck. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. These videos are helpful not only for me but for other people. We learn from each other, and that way, hopefully, you can get yourself out of a bind if you get into one this winter. I've laid out everything on the table for an overview. This is all the stuff that I keep in my truck, from clothing, rain gear, communications, stuff to deal with tires, retrieval equipment, medical equipment, emergency supplies, and tools. So let's start with retrieval equipment. Retrieval gear. I keep it in these Vertex cubes, very much like these bags. They're square, stackable, and they don't move around, and they've proven to be very tough. Space blanket. You're gonna lay down in the snow to rig something up or put a tow chain on. You don't wanna get all wet, so start with that on top, and a road flare. Having trucks barreling around on you, throw that thing out there. Plus, it's really good for emergency fires, even with wet wood. You can pretty much get a fire going with this or signal people. They're affordable, so have that. Also a shovel. This is a Rhino, just your classic military folding shovel. That's pretty important. You can get out underneath there, you can dig out. Not having a shovel in wintertime is a real problem, and I could even make the excuse of having a full-size one if you can deal with it. If I could only have two things, gentlemen, this is what I would choose if you want a basic retrieval kit. A bubba rope. These, what they call them, dynamic ropes, are just game changers. Compared to the old chains, you can get just about anything out with these. They are an excellent invention. A little expensive, but very nice. Get a 30-footer. There's 20s and there's 30s. The 30 gives you a lot more options than the 20. And this is a soft shackle. Love soft shackles. You can pretty much any vehicle you can find a place to hook onto and yank them out. Now these are vulnerable if you've got something with hard edges. So to supplement that, I would recommend a regular shackle, a metal one, because you can put that underneath something. It's not going to get torn or ripped over a sharp edge, and hook that onto your bubba rope or what have you. And very nice. I actually have two of these soft shackles. So bubba rope, two soft shackles, clevis, and a tree strap. If you need to pull yourself out or redirect, a tree strap, very handy. You can even extend your winch line. I've done that before if it just won't quite reach. This rest of the stuff pretty much applies mostly to guys with winches, but this right here, what I showed you, this here would be what I'd recommend for all your rigs, and I would add one of these. Don't pull on your trailer ball, very dangerous. You want to see some gruesome videos, go on Twitter and watch trailer balls breaking and slingshotting through the back windshield, and it's ugly. So you want to always pull with one of these if you can. I'll typically just keep this installed on my rig in the wintertime, so I don't have to have it in the cab. I carry 3 tools. I drive new trucks. I don't usually have too many problems. I can fix most things or solve problems with a pair of channel locks, Knipex, a crescent wrench, and I have just a kind of a cheapo combination screwdriver with all the bits. You're gonna have Torx, Phillips, all that sort of thing. But this really is the trifecta tool combo to solve a lot of problems. Don't forget your winch controller. And one other thing you could add, and I actually got myself out of a bad situation a few years ago, cat litter. Cat litter, if you get on ice and you can't get traction, you can sprinkle this down, get people going. And this goes a long ways. Cat litter is pretty good, and you can clean up grease with it too. It's basically shop sweep. I've got 2 of these in here. I don't need 2. I'm going to omit that. And I've got a couple snatch block and then a donut because I use synthetic line. This is I need to double the strength of the winch line, redirect, pull it at a 90-degree angle. But that is the complete contents of my retrieval kit. This is my tire kit, also in one of the smaller Vertex cubes. Now, if I didn't have an onboard air compressor, I would have one of the Milwaukee inflators. I don't know if I would ever install another air compressor, like a hard-mounted one, up in the engine compartment again. Actually, I know I wouldn't. I would simply go with the Milwaukee because they're just so handy. I have 2 hoses. Be careful. One hose, I found out the hard way, was not enough to reach the passenger rear tire for inflating. So I have 2 of these. I think it's 30 feet or 40 feet with a lock-on inflator. Now this has a quick attach. This will hook up to the engine compartment compressor and I can air up my tires. Now why would I need to do that? Because if you're having traction problems, you deflate your tires. Deflate your tires down to about 15 PSI. It gives you a much bigger footprint and it's like a superpower. It's incredible how much traction you'll get from doing that. Problem is, if you need to get out of the snow or a slippery situation and you got a long trip home on asphalt, you don't want to run with that pressure. You can heat up your tires and ruin them. So you're going to want to have the ability to reinflate them. How I do it is I use a deflator. This is an ARB deflator. This is a quick way to remove the valve or the Schrader valve and pull the air out of them really quickly so you're not sitting there with your fingernail for 45 minutes because it takes a long time. Also inside, I have a small bag with a couple of extra Schrader valves. It's a 50-cent part, but if you lose it when you're deflating, you are in a world of hurt. So these kind of go together. And then finally, nobody, no pro host certainly, should be leaving the house without one of these. This is a Blackjack tire repair kit. This is a plug kit. And this is a pro grade one. Don't fool around with the junky ones. Just throw down. They're not that expensive. You're going to have your ream. You're going to have a nice supply of plugs. This is the same thing you're going to see in mechanic shops and tire shops. Very, very good and highly, highly recommended. I've used it twice this summer to get myself home. And what I mean by these things stacking is they have little wings on them. And here on the top, they've got these loops. So this is kind of handy, especially if you're carrying gear for hunting in like a quad or an open vehicle and you don't want stuff bouncing around. It's pretty low tech and pretty simple. So you can kind of stack, mix and match this stuff and they hold together really good. And that way you could just grab one thing and you've got all of your equipment. These bags have proven to be very, very excellent. I don't know of anything better out there for automotive stuff. So this is just basically some personal survival equipment in here. I'm going to have, this is an EDC kit. You can buy these. This is from my friend Dave from AMP3. He puts together one. And you're going to have just a super enhanced EDC in this. You're going to have some medicine, some first aid, tweezers, fire starting stuff, ibuprofen, alcohol pads, pencil and paper, just all the little things that's already thought out, batteries. You know, it's very nice. So just an all-encompassing EDC kit. Buy one or put one together, throw it in your kit. I've got a Leatherman Wave here with a little flashlight, and I've got a set of extra batteries, AA. I've got Gorilla brand duct tape. I've got a fire starter. I've got some blue paper towels and some wet wipes and just that sort of thing. Clean up your hands, contacts. Also, I've got a full set of plugs for everything that I would have. USB-C, USB-A, C to C, A to C, you know, that sort of thing. So pretty much any phone I would be able to charge. And that's what I would just call maybe just kind of the mini survival kit. Medical. Trauma kit. This rides on the headrest behind my seat. All I have to do is hit one fast text buckle, pull it off, and I've got a tourniquet. I've got, don't forget this, a glass breaker. It's very difficult to get into a modern day tempered windshield. Very, very difficult. You can pound on them and they will not break. So the glass breaker is here in case you need to get inside. I've been on many a collision where on front end impacts, the doors are pinned shut and you got to go through the glass. So this is going to have your trauma shears. You know, this is Refuge Medical, the best medical kits you can get, in my opinion. And so that rides, that's the primary. If I was going to just grab something and time was important, and also there's a seatbelt cutter on the back of this. The reason for, should probably talk about that. The reason for the seatbelt cutter if you don't carry a knife, it's nice to have these built in like this. Seat belts pre-tension. They've actually got an explosive charge on them, so in the event of an impact, the seat belt goes off and it pulls it super tight and locks it in there. So I've ran calls on that where those are super tight and you have to have something to cut them. If you don't carry a knife, you can have one of these. A glass breaker should be in your vehicle, in all your vehicles for sure. And then I have here a heavier trauma kit that's going to have basic first aid supplies. There's even SAM splints in here for broken bones. There's a pharmacy in here. There's a full trauma kit with Israeli bandages as well as tourniquets, a duplicate of everything in here, and just a very comprehensive heavy-duty kit that's going to be able to handle pretty much anything. This would be like a light or a small version of what a paramedic would roll on scene with. Just, you know, maybe a fourth of it, but still very capable. So this will be stored in the back underneath the passenger seat. This one here is going to be right on the back of my headrest so I can get to it very, very quickly. And that's it for medical. Now I'll show you what I keep in my immediate reach right in my door panel. In the door panel on the driver's side, I'm going to keep a really good flashlight. I've used these streamlights for a long time. We were issued these in the fire department and I've come to really like them and trust them. They have a strong piercing beam that projects a long, long ways. This is not a flood at all. Will cut through fog. It's designed for firefighters to cut through fog and haze. And I like the form factor because if you're working on a vehicle, you can sit it on the ground and you can turn it on and it sits upright. You don't have to hold it in your teeth. You can also put it in a shirt pocket and be hands-free. And they're made very, very tough. You can hang it. It's got a lanyard. It's got a belt clip. It's a super versatile, super tough light. And it takes 4 AA batteries, so the runtime is a long runtime. Very good. In the door panel, I'm going to have an ASP here, personal defense. Also, these are quite good for breaking windows. They will break through a window, as well as a good heavy-duty knife. You know, you can pry open metal with this. A big, heavy knife like this, something strong you can rely upon for who knows what reason. And a Ride in the Rain and pad. I'm punching things on a phone just doesn't work for me. I think I'm just from the old school. And if I want to write down a license plate, a radio frequency, directions, phone numbers, it's right there. Have you ever been on the phone where you need something and you're scrambling around, looking through your center console? Just have it at the ready. So these 4 items I keep in the door panel for that reason. I carry a few personal items, and I'd probably say that this is just a small blanket, looks like it was swiped from, says property of Delta on it. I don't know where this came from, but it came home with us. That's nice. I've come upon people that have ran out of gas, they're freezing cold, or an injury to deal with shock. I would say this is probably a first aid item, a comfort item. If you have kids, you will use this, pretty important. And then for me, a personal set of rain gear, Gore-Tex rain gear that I can put on if I need to get in and crawl under a vehicle. I don't want to get all wet and get cold. So got the lowers and the uppers, and of course a pair of warm gloves, a pair of Lucky Loggers for, I guess that's the only clothing that I carry in here. And to finish everything out, an Amerex fire extinguisher, pretty self-explanatory. Amerex are the most trusted brand if you want the good ones. There's a lot of really cheapo ones out there. These are more expensive for a reason. They're all metal inside instead of plastic. These are going to be reliable. A Katadyn water filter, just a standard backpacking water filter, a pump system. So mud puddle, river, if you need to get water. You can't carry water in your rig in the wintertime because it'll freeze and it cracks your bottles. So that's just a water filter. I carry it. Also, I carry in the center console, this is a jump pack, just a regular battery jump pack, and I have power wired into the console, and this just stays plugged in so it's always charged. So jump pack for dead batteries. Wintertime, I carry a snow brush, and there's supposed to be an ice scraper on there that's long since gone, so I will be needing to replace that. Get a long one, made for the big, well, I have to because the big pickups are so huge. I can't reach to get the snow off the windshield or the ice scraped with a normal one. So I get these extended long ones. I put that in winter time. We live in the forest. Trees come down, branches come down across the road. I used to carry axes. What I have found is that these silky saws are actually just, they're better. They're better in those situations, in my opinion. So this is a big katana boy. It folds up nice, and this is a very capable saw. You can get through a 12-inch tree with this, no problem, and in a hurry. So if something falls across the road and you can't winch it out of your way, usually you can put one cut in it and grab onto it, throw a choker on it, drag it out of the way, enough to get by. So having a saw or an axe is pretty important. I carry a pair of field glasses. It's kind of nostalgic for me. My grandfather always carried, as he called it, field glasses, binoculars. Binoculars are nice. Who is that? What's that car? What's going on? Having these, I keep these in the center console, and I use them all the time. And they're just fun. If you want to see, if you see an animal or want to share something with the kids, it's nice to have binoculars. And then finally, I guess the last thing, some protein. These are just some, whatever, Costco mega snacks. You get in a snowbank, you have problems, you got a couple hours for the tow truck or help to come. You got kids in the car, they get hangry. So give them something to snack on. It makes them happy. And then something I will be adding or have added from the past that you have not seen would be my digital scanner. Digital scanners are able to pick up all communications, including law enforcement, emergency services, Forest Service, wherever you're at. These have a nice feature. It's called an Around Me feature. It's very simple. You don't have to program them. They're just simply going to pick up any radio traffic in the whole area. I also have radios inside, that's all understood. But the scanner is very, very nice. Not necessary, but if you like to know what's going on, if you're in a traffic jam and you're sitting on Interstate 80 for 4 hours and you wonder why you're not moving, you can turn this on and at least know what's going on and get some insight, and it's worth it to me. So let me pack it all away, stow everything. I'll show you how I keep it, and that will, I guess, be a wrap. All right, gentlemen, I've got everything stowed. This is the headrest first aid kit there. Under the seat storage, I have gloves, the EDC kit, saw, protein, tire kit, medical kit, blanket, Catadine filter, and I don't have room under. I mean, if I break everything up, I could probably fit it in there, and I'd prefer not to do that. Sometimes I need this kit, I'll grab it on the skid steer. That's primarily, if it's going to be close to my house, I'll just grab it and throw it in there. So I can still get 4 passengers in here. If we have a 5th, I'll just take it and throw it in the back. What's nice about these Vertex cases is that I'm not going to say that they're waterproof, but they're very water resistant. So a little bit of rain or some slush on the back is just not a problem. Up front, as I said, in the center console, I'm going to keep the field glasses. This is my whole scanner kit. It's going to have all the cables and batteries, extra batteries and such. And then this is the jump starter, which there is a power point inside, so I can have that hooked up to a USB. So it's always charged, which is, you have to be careful with those things. They do discharge. And then, of course, in the door panel, we have a knife, a good sturdy knife, the asp, the stream light, and then pen and paper right there. And that's pretty much the way I keep it. Now, I will keep tire chains in the back if I need them, but they won't be in the cab. So that is the extent of it. I would be very interested to hear your insights in the comment section. Anything I've overlooked, something that you found that you've maybe carried that has got you out of a bind. Again, we learn by doing, we learn from each other, and I would greatly appreciate that. So please comment, hit that thumbs up if you enjoy these videos, and get your rig ready. Get your rig ready. Do your thinking now so that when you get into an emergency situation, you're not on the back foot, because, well, now's the time. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you guys on the next video.